Okay, let me just test. See if it's working. I don't see anything on my screen. There we go. Make sure. I don't know, is my microphone working? It's like, I see it clicking here on... What's his face? I think so. I don't know, is my mic... Okay, yeah, so that's definitely working. It's just, for whatever reason, my stream on the computer is way behind. What it is on the reality, I guess. Alright, let me try and move my microphone a little bit closer here. Alright. So, on the left-hand side, we have Huragran's lap. On the right-hand side, we have my lap. So, we'll get started here, and... oh, God. Cool. So, because I'm streaming, it's going really fucking jittery. That's super annoying. Okay, let me think. What can I do? I might just have to fucking end this and just record it as a video. If I make that smaller there, we'll see if that helps. Actually, I know what I can do. I'll turn off the preview on OBS, and hopefully that will fix the jitteriness a little bit. Nope, still fucking jittery. Let me think here. Now, I know there is a way to turn down the quality of I just wish that I had a better computer for this. Alright, I'm just gonna, okay, if I use just the timeline slider, I think it works a little bit better. So, we'll just have to do that. Alright, so, on the left, Huragran's lap, on the right, my lap. You can see that I had the wind at 2.4 meters per second, here's at 1.8, so I'm gaining a little bit. If we go right at the start, you can see that I'm a kilometer up on the straight here, and as we come down to this line, you can see that I'm a little bit closer here on the right hand side. So anyway, we'll come up to this first breaking point. Let me make this bigger again. Hopefully that doesn't fuck that up. Alright, so we're looking to break a little bit past the 150 board. So there's the 150 board. We'll see who comes onto the brakes first. Okay, so you see I've started to activate the brake just a little bit earlier than what he is. We're both at 268 kilometers per hour. Actually, that's another thing I wanted to check is the shift points at 5th gear. Sorry, fascinating stuff for everyone. Okay, so I shift... He shifts at like 258, I shift at like 259, so basically the same. Okay. Alright, so I get on the brakes a little bit earlier. We both shift down to 3rd gear, basically identical times. I've already started to scrub off more speed than him, but it's only a few kilometers per hour, so that by the time we get to this line, we're basically dead even. I'm 3k slower. The turn-in point, basically identical. We've both reached full lock. And so you'll see that because he carried in the little bit more speed to the apex, he's beaten me to this bollard. At this point, he's actually now scrubbed off more speed though. Interesting. And so on the throttle, pretty much identical times. Both full throttle there. He's kept at full throttle, whereas I have this little lift there, because I think I'm going to go wide. And you see his full throttle takes him right out to the edge of the track, whereas I'm a little bit further onto the right. So you'll see he's basically carrying a couple of kilometers per hour quicker down this straight. Because I do have the higher wind than him, he is going to gain a little bit down this straight. So as we go, let's try and find a good reference point. So this path here on the right, you can see that he's gained a little bit there already, maybe about half a car length. And so we're going to both reach this mark on the right here on the curb. Alright, so he activates the brake 220 k's per hour. I'm activating it at like 219. You see, use the reference point of this Coca-Cola barrier over on the left. So there's one thing showing. Yeah, one thing showing. So we're basically braking at about the same point. Now this is an interesting corner here. When you have the headwind going into this corner, you can take so much speed and get on the throttle very early. As much as you gain with the tailwind down the back straight, I think one of the biggest gains is actually this corner with the wind. So we both managed to clip the inside fairly well. He's a little bit more on the curb than what I am. So you see he reaches the apex a little bit now before me. He's at 21.466. That's the sector time. Okay, so just in general, the sector time, 21.466 versus 21.552. So he gains almost a tenth of a second in the first sector. And that's just from basically having that full throttle out of turn one compared to my my tiny little lift. So apex speed 157, pretty much dead even there. You'll see he's basically back on full throttle and holds full throttle the whole way. Whereas I think, a little bit less sure here. Yeah, you see I'm kind of half throttle, then full throttle once I see that the car is going to stay. It doesn't really seem to cost me much though. I'd say we're both at about the same exit speed there. So as we get to this red curb, he's at 185. I'm also at 185. So has he gained anything there? So he's there at 26.896. And I'm there at like 27.0. So actually, I thought that I would lose time to him through this corner, but I didn't. We're basically exactly the same amount of time from entry to exit. I didn't lose any time from the split. Now this is one corner I'm actually struggling with a little bit. The top drivers, I notice, are able to get from the left-hander to the right-hander like very smoothly, whereas I do tend to end up understeering. You see that I'm a little bit further across from the line. So I've held fourth gear a little bit longer here. He's shifted down to third, so there I shift down to third. Now at this point I'm tighter, so he allows himself to go out a little bit wider. And now he's already back to full throttle. Let's see. So what minimum apex speed does he have? He drops to like 160. Whereas I'm tighter. I've got a higher minimum apex speed, but I'm tighter. And he is able to pretty much hold that flat through there. Whereas this is kind of one of the mistakes I made in the lap, was I got myself a little bit too wide out here, and you can see that I'm only at about like 70% throttle, because if I go full throttle, I'm going to end up too far over to the left. And now that's positioned him nicely. He's right over at this curb when he begins to brake, whereas I'm in the middle of the track. So it's interesting, I do brake down to first gear a little bit more. I end up taking more curb here. We're both up to second gear. Alright, so my minimum apex speed here is like 95 k's per hour. Drops down to 94. Whereas you see he's down at 93 much earlier than me. But this is going to allow him to get on the throttle a lot earlier. So he's full throttle already, whereas I'm still like a little bit unsure. And you can actually see, this is one thing to note, is there's still like a little bit of moisture at various points of the track for me. You take a look down in the bottom left corner. He does have, he has completely dry track, where I have a little bit of moisture on the track, which is probably costing me, maybe a tenth on this lap. But he gets full throttle earlier than me, and he's able to hold it pinned. Now, this is another corner where the having the headwind here is so beneficial, because you can get on the throttle very early and you don't understeer out wide. When you have the tailwind, it pushes you off the track here, and you usually end up like making a mistake and having to lift a little bit just to stay on track, or shift to third like a little bit earlier, which just like kills your momentum out of the corner. But you'll see that he's already reached 150 kilometers per hour at this point, where I'm still down at 144. So this is one of the corners where you just like lose a lot of time, even with just a slight mistake. And so you'll see he reaches this AstroTurf here at 43.012. And I reach it at 43.231. So I've lost a whole tenth already just through this corner, and I believe that by the time we get to the end of the straight, we'll probably have lost even more. So you see, just the whole way down the track, he's carrying more speed now. Again, though, with the difference in the wind speed here, he will pick up a little bit of time just naturally from that. But yeah, you saw by how early he got on the throttle, it's probably going to be quite significant. So he cuts the beam at 52.063. I've cut it at 52.373. So we've lost 2 tenths in the second sector. So that's 3 tenths so far that we've lost. All right, so let's look at the maximum speed. So he gets to 242. I'm at 241. All right, so what I might actually do here is I'm going to try and even us up on the for the rest of the lap. So bear with me while I do this. So what do we need to slice? Is this one here. Okay. So now we're both at the exact same point on the lap. Oops. So, sorry, Hero Grand, I've just stolen 3 tenths from you. Now, this is a corner I'm really particularly interested in, because I feel like this is a corner which is a weakness for me. I always feel like I slow the car too much here. And then, okay, so I'll say this before I actually look. So my hypothesis is that I am quite awkward on the brakes into this corner, that I slow the car too much, which then results in me kind of having to put too much acceleration to get to the second part of the corner, the left-hander. And that extra kind of like moment of inertia is what causes me to usually like understeer through the second part. But maybe I'm wrong, so let's take a look. So if anything, actually, I'm not slowing the car enough. You see, apex speed, his down to 61. I'm at 64, 63. Now, I do get the car to 60 at this point. And you see I've picked up a bit of distance, but now let's compare how far over the track we get. Yeah, this is a difficult one. I guess I just had a really good chicane here. Because it looks like I'm not going to lose any time. I mean, I'm up into second gear already. He's completely off the throttle. Now he's full throttle. I'm just full throttle now, and you see that this little moment of hesitation. So he is full throttle at this point. I'm still off it, and it's full throttle, full throttle, full throttle. I'm still off it, and there. Now I'm full throttle. Look at how much speed he's gained just in that time. 3 kilometers per hour just from getting on the throttle earlier there. If we take a look at also the amount of steering input here. Okay, full amount. Now he's already started to unwind the steering a little bit more than what I have, whereas I'm still almost full luck. He's probably 10-15 degrees less steering input than me. And so now by the time we hit this bollard, this is how much time he's gained. 107.29. Well, I won't be able to actually compare because I don't have the exact times, but yeah. Alright, so he reaches 155 compared to my 150. Then we both shift down to second. I believe he's gonna select first here, whereas I prefer to keep it in second. If I get a good turn in and I know that I'm gonna make the apex, I'll keep it in second gear. So I'd actually say we're pretty even through that. Oh shit. Whoops. Sorry, I need to zoom out in this timeline. Where am I at? Oh god, what has happened? Sorry guys. Okay, here we go. Okay, now I can zoom in a little bit more. Bit finicky to control here. Okay, so again, he's just full throttle when I'm like 85-90% throttle. It's kind of a theme through this lap that is much more committed on the throttle than what I am. And so we'll see by the time we reach the end of this curb, he's at 161, whereas I'm at only 155. You're 50-50 when choosing first or second there? Yeah. Like I said, I prefer to keep it in second if I nail the turn in and I don't need the extra rotation from first, then I'll keep it in second. Mostly just because I feel like if I keep it in second, I'm more patient with everything. Whereas if I put it in first, I start to like overdrive. So yeah, you see how much speed he picks up there over me. 6 kilometers per hour. Just from that very, very small amount of extra throttle. So at this point, I think I get on the brakes just a little bit too early here, because I knew I was on for a good lap at this point, and I really didn't want to fuck up this corner, which is something that tends to happen. And with the tailwind here, it's very easy to kind of go too deep. Alright, so let's try and compare this. So yeah, he's away from the curb once he gets on the brake, but I'm on it kind of while I'm still on the curb. So he puts in a little bit more braking than me. I'm very, very gentle on the brakes. I barely get over 50%, and actually most of the time I'm not even close to 50%. So as we get to this bollard, 84, 87 for me. So I'm a little bit quicker into the corner than what he is. And again, this may have actually made me up a little bit of time. But we'll see. Again, I'm sure he's on the throttle earlier. So yeah, on the throttle earlier, but actually quite close this time. Very, very close. I would actually say I might have even made up time on him through there. Although he gains so much speed though on the exit. I guess maybe my car is like sliding it. Like what's happening here? So we both take a similar amount of curb. He's full throttle by middle of the track. Maybe I'm just a slight bit later on the throttle. And so by end of curb 146, yeah. Actually, I see what it is. Do I shift to third earlier? Yeah, so I shift to third there. That's the difference in speed. But then once kind of the gear shift evens out, we're basically even again. Okay. Alright, so last corner. Now this is one of the big differences between our laps. You're gonna see what Hero Grand does here. So, whoops. Let's see, when does he start braking? So he's on the brakes. You see this, I'll try and come back a little bit. So it's very hard to see because the timing thing's in the way. You see up behind the timing thing, there's this orange part on the thing, on the barrier. So he's pretty much in line with that. Same with me. Can't see his steering inputs. What's he do on entry to unwind? Can't see his steering inputs. What's he do on entry to unwind early on exit? In the case of this left-hander, I mean, we're both full lock there. Actually, yeah, he's already unwinding mid corner, whereas I have almost I'm at like 90% lock here, where he's already neutral. But then he does run wider here on the curb. All right, so anyway, corner entry. We're both on the brakes at the same time. He's scrubbed off more speed at this point, like quite a bit more. Both full lock. Okay, I really want to even us up so I can get a really good comparison as to how we're taking this corner, but it's so difficult to find a reference. All right, so we'll use the end of this curve as a reference point. So 1 second. Let me zoom in. I'll make a slice here. Hold on, so about there. And we'll say about there. Wait, did that not make the slice? God damn it. Alright, so make a slice there. Alright, so now we're about even. Okay, so now you can see that he's got like 4, 5, 6 kilometers per hour more speed coming in. So I've broken earlier. Whereas he brakes later. 1 second. Okay, so he's reached the apex 21,962. I'm at 22,414. So he's almost a 1/10. He gains a 1/10 from here to the apex of the corner. That's kind of crazy. Just because I broke a little bit early. He's got full steering lock here. He goes down to first. I'm keeping it in seconds. Now he's begun unwinding. Yeah, he got the car rotated very early because he did take first gear here first, whereas I took second. I often find if I hit first gear here, I will get over rotation, which then puts me on the throttle too early. So we roughly take the same line through there, but when's the full throttle come in? We're basically full throttle at the same time. I have this little correction of the steering, so I'm like 90% lock, unwind it, wind it back on. He's kept a very consistent lock. He's about 80%. But then look at this. Look how wide he's taking the car. Absolutely crazy. He's like right off the track here. And so his exit speed 136. I mean, it's not actually that higher than mine, but we'll see what it is as we go down the straight. I mean, hopefully, I think my wind here will like pick it up a little bit. Is there a line on the track I can use? Not really. But as we come under the bridge, 222. Yeah, so actually, despite him going wider there, all of his time gain here was just on the corner entry. We have basically the same exit, and I think the slightly higher tailwind is actually helpful for me in picking time back up.
Interesting question.
Quiet, Siri. So yeah, that's that. I just want to skip to the end here. Yeah, you can go up here, but it's very touch and go as whether you'll get the penalty. Like I more often get the penalty going there than not get the penalty. So let me try and even these up, and we'll take another look at this corner. I also want to look at the chicane. Actually, let's go back to the chicane first, because I think those like I already know where I made the mistake at turn 3-4, but the chicane and last corner.
I didn't get that. Could you...
Shut up, Siri. Fucking hell. But yeah, the chicane, or the hairpin as Twitchy called it, is a more interesting one for me. Okay, so that's when the sector split starts, and that's when the sector split starts. Okay, here we go. Hello to everyone watching right now. That's right, saying hello to myself. Hey, Rage, what's up? Interesting, he actually touched the dirt a little bit there. I didn't notice that on the other camera. He hits the bollard too. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think my chicane here was as good as his. I don't think there was really anything I did wrong. He was just a little bit more committed on the throttle. If he's using one that came with the DD Pro. Foss on Discord asking if you use load cells. Yeah, I use the load cell. I don't have the pedals that came with the DD Pro. I have the original CSL Elite pedals. So you'll see here, I end up a little bit too much on the curb here, which is why I end up braking a little bit early. You see, I have to come off the curb, and this sets me up. I'm a little bit too wide. I need to be over onto this left-hand curb, but because I'm coming off of the AstroTurf here, that's why I end up braking a little bit earlier there. But I did a really good job, I think, of getting it turned in for that corner. And then with Sandra's 50, with Sandra's, what is it, 37.4, Sandra was like very far off the track here. So yeah, if we had a third video up of like Hero Grand, myself, and Sandra, it would basically be like left, middle, right of the curb. Or the sausage, rather. Let me slice this again. Probably about there. So he's staying more in the middle of the track. Yeah, it might just be that he uses the first gear here to get the extra rotation. I mean, he's definitely off the white line. It's... Presumably, you need to stay on the curb with one tire or two tires to avoid the penalty, and he's right on the limit. I'm happy with the laps done so far, as I'm probably only hitting 2 apexes a lap. It can be a bit like that. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look at turn 1. In particular, the braking. Okay, so that's the start of his lap. Wait, shit. Come on. Fuck's sake. Okay, there we go. Correct about the penalty last turn. Must have part of tire on the red and white curb. Yeah. It's a really tricky one to get right. And I think it's too risky to use that green stuff, especially in the race, because you can't spin there. So he's a little bit more over to the left of the track. Actually, something that might be interesting is... Let's see. If I take this one... And this one... where is opacity? Opacity. Maybe Maybe it's not in effects. Here we go, opacity. Wait. Actually, that's kind of crazy. That you hold on. That might help. Of course, no. It's because the car is centered on screen, so that's why we're stuck on each other's cars. So that doesn't work. So how quickly do we get from brake input to full brake? So he actually seems to feed in the brakes because he's already on the brake there ahead of me. Although for whatever reason it shows his ABS is activating, but it doesn't show mine. Wait, what? Yeah, hard to tell there. But yeah, it does seem like I'm able to activate the brakes quicker than what he is. But I'm not full braking here. Look at that. That's load cell brakes for you. It's like modulated. I lose pressure on the brake a little bit. So there's the initial full 100%, and then I'm losing that little bit there. So I would say I'm losing brake performance. And then I'd say we both start trail braking at basically the exact same time. Now the interesting thing, does that happen at the chicane as well? So we both... He gets 100% braking a little bit earlier. Okay, for this turn, yeah, I don't have that little moment of losing 100% brakes. He does come off the brake earlier though, which is interesting here, right? So 241, 240, basically having the same entry speed. He gets on the brake earlier, comes off it earlier. I mean, hold on. We're essentially both at 201. We're both at 201 right here, right? I guess this is... No. But then, yeah, he's off of the brake earlier, but he's somehow scrubbed off 7 kilometers more, despite having less of a headwind. Why is this? Is it something to do with the amount of, okay. I would say we're both having about the exact same amount of steering input, so there's no reason why I should be getting less efficient brakes here. So this may just be a thing about the Fanatec load cell brakes, where I'm losing braking performance compared to him. because he's able to get more speed off of the car despite coming out of the brakes earlier, and we're both on the exact same steering trajectory. But this, I mean, I guess it could just be track temperature or something, tire temperature. But that's really fascinating. But yeah, anyway, I've seen enough. Hope you enjoyed this little journey with me. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for tomorrow's race.